Yo, what is up, y'all? My name is Devin, and today I'm going to be breaking down why I feel as though trans medicalism is gatekeeping, why I think that it does not truly serve the trans community. But before I get into that, if you are new here, new and not subscribed, definitely go ahead and subscribe to help my channel grow. We're shooting towards 20K, and you can make that happen. Before I dive into my true feelings, if any of y'all are watching this and you identify as a trans medicalist, please understand that this is not me coming at you. I'm going to ask us to put our empathy hats on. I'm going to ask us to put our critical thinking caps on, and I'm going to ask us to think about other people as they exist, think about other people's circumstances, think about other people being allowed to feel differently than you do, and then think about how that can make our community stronger as a whole. Generally speaking, we know that when there is diversity within a community, that makes it stronger because people are coming with different experiences. Please, I've had some people in the past comment some crazy stuff, how I'm like a traitor and all of that for not believing in trans medicalism, for not supporting people like Buck Angel, and I'm standing 10 toes on my opinion because I have spoken to so many different kinds of trans people, right? If you guys have been here for a long time, you know that I used to be red pilled, I used to listen to Joe Rogan, I used to do all of that shit, right? But it's not until I got into the real world and I started to meet non-binary people, I started to meet trans men who had no intention of going on testosterone, and I just started to talk to people and really perceive them for who they are and believe who they say they are and see who they are. I was able to realize that saying someone has to fit into this perfect box to be trans is fear-based, and let me explain that a little bit further. So from my perspective, I view trans medicalism as being afraid that society will not accept us, so therefore you must go on hormones, you must get surgery, you must do these things in order to acclimate to regular society. I think what gets lost in the shuffle of those requirements is honestly quite a few people. Everybody does not live in a first world country where they have access to testosterone, where they have access to doctors who view their transness as something to be, helped with the access to hormones. There are countries that people live in where if they go to a doctor and they say, "Hey doc, I'm trans. Can you give me some testosterone? Can you give me some estrogen?" They will literally be jailed. It is illegal. I don't think the nuance of privilege really sinks in for them. And even if they do realize that, they're not explicitly saying it, right? The nuance in different worlds that we live in and getting caught up in, I live in America, I live in Canada, I live in the UK, I have access to these things, is not always accessible for a lot of people. Honestly, for a shit ton of people. So that's something that pisses me off because everyone does not have the same access as you do. Now, let's say within these countries, such as the US, such as the UK, such as Canada, Brazil, where people do have access to hormones, right? What if they simply can't afford it? What if they simply are not in a position where it's safe for them to start hormones? I came out at 18 to the people that I felt safe to come out to because my dad would threaten me. He had an inkling that I was trans, and he would threaten me, "Oh, am I gonna cut my off when I get older? Am I gonna do this? Am I gonna do that?" He literally told me when I was around 14 that he would literally rather his kids be dead than be gay. Now imagine how he would feel about me if I told him I was trans, right? So for 2 years of my life, I was a trans man who was not on testosterone. The trans medicalists don't say, "Oh, you know who is valid? Trans people who can't be on testosterone, but they want to be on testosterone." Again, the nuance gets lost there. Everybody, even if they do have access technically to these things, if it's life or death, if it's me being homeless, if it's my dad threatening my livelihood, no, bitch, I can't be on testosterone. Sorry that you don't consider me a real man. I don't know what to tell you. The last sector of people are really, truly the people that trans medicalists are angry at, right? It's people who do have access to hormones, who can afford to be on hormones, and who simply choose not to be on hormones, who simply choose not to get top surgery. And I think the most anger lies for this group of people because it's like, well, you have it so easy. Why don't you just conform? I'm going to ask us, why? Why are you mad at the person who's choosing not to conform? And why are you not mad at the system? Because if there was no societal system, laws, and guidelines in place for us to conform to, you wouldn't have to be afraid, right? When you see someone who's saying, "I'm trans," and they look femme as fuck, and that triggers you. It triggers you because you're afraid. If a cis person sees this person who's claiming to be trans, and they think every trans person is like that, then I'm cooked, They think we're crazy. You're making us look crazy. Why are we wanting to be a monolith? Yeah, trans people are different. Guess what? There's cis men who are flamboyant, who are gay as fuck, who sometimes also look like fucking women. It's just the fact of the matter. And for you to police who can and cannot be trans, it's like the whole restroom debate that is fucking ongoing for the rest of our eternity, it seems like. And they want this guy in the women's restroom under one of my posts on Instagram. And several people commented back and they're like, "No, he shouldn't exist. We don't want him in any restroom." That's the kind of people that we're dealing with. And those are the kind of people that you're wanting to to appease and that you're wanting to make happy, saying, why can't you just get with the program? Just be a man. Some people don't want to be a binary man, right? The same way that you as a trans person are thinking, well, I didn't want to be a girl, so I transitioned to a man, and cis people are looking at you sideways like, bitch, that doesn't make sense. That's the same way that other people are saying, well, I don't feel like I'm a girl, but I also don't feel like I'm a dude. I'm just something in between. None of those feel right to me. And you're saying, nah, you gotta get with the program, you gotta choose one. Hello? Why are you doing the work of the oppressor? It is much stronger for us to say, you know what? We don't have the same experience. I don't necessarily understand how you feel. We'll be stronger. And for you to think that kicking another trans person down because they don't fit makes you superior, again, you're doing the work of the oppressor. And when I say oppressor, I'm not being like, oh, big brothers, cis people are bad. The oppressor is people and groups of people, such as politicians, who use us as a scapegoat. Why were we still sending money to Israel? Oh, but instead, let's go ahead and point fingers at trans people. Let's go ahead and put gay marriage on the docket to be repealed. These are things that they want us infighting about so they could go do that weird fuckery, genocidal shit over there. A lot of people are so blinded by their anger and by their fear because this level of thinking I was only able to really tap into once I was in a safe place, right? Once I was paying my own bills and I was surrounded by people that loved me and I felt comfortable enough to go show up in spaces where I would be perceived as a man. I understand if you are maybe a younger trans person, maybe you just heard testosterone, maybe you live in a city where most people around you are maybe like Republicans, you don't have that experience. So to see a non-binary trans person who has like their hair dyed and they have like hella piercings and they're like, yeah, like my name is Kai, I go by they, them, you're gonna be like, fuck you, Kai, you're making my life harder because the people around you are judging that person, right? Unfortunately, even if you conform as much as possible, they're still gonna view you as that person. And I can tell you this because I did the thing, bro. I made myself as cis-passing as possible, as strong as possible. I'm fucking bigger than most dudes that walk down the street, and they still view me as some girl pretending to be a guy. And I'm okay with that, because bitch, I don't care. I am who I say I am. And you should trust that people are who they say they are. And let's also talk about people who do go through phases, because there are certainly some people who go through a phase of being trans. And I don't think that we should wince or cringe when we hear that. The same way that people go through phases of sexuality, they should be allowed to do that. People should be allowed to think, maybe I'll low dose testosterone for a little bit and see how I feel, see if this feels more aligned with me. And they stop. And that's okay. And technically that would be considered detransitioning. And that shouldn't be freaking us out either. Why does the word detransitioner freak us out? Because it's used against us. Because they use detransitioners to say, look, you guys are all crazy, you're gonna regret that you did this to your body. But what if those people didn't say that? So again, we need to shift our perspective from the minority of people who are expressing their gender in a way that they feel comfortable with, and bravely so, might I add. It's fucking hard to walk in the street and be androgynous looking. Because before I was on T, I was definitely giving who, she, he, we, thee, that, them, them, zir, question mark. And people judge the fuck out of me. So for people to intentionally choose, I feel most comfortable being androgynous. And they walk down the street like that every day. They have to go to work. They have to go to malls. They have to go to the movies and have people look at them sideways and think that they're that other person. But we have to give each other space to breathe. And I say this because I understand that much of my, audience and much of my supporters are, trans mask binary men. I get that it can be fucking nerve-wracking. Like, I don't want to be associated with them. But we are. Like, we're all here together. And the sooner we understand that, the stronger we will be. And somebody please take away Buck Angel's phone. As someone who used to watch Calvin Guerra videos, and as someone who used to just be out here thinking I was superior for being, a trans man, and now I have homies all across the fucking spectrum, I just love people. I think that we're really missing out by blocking ourselves of more love. If you are interested in following me on Instagram, I'm posting all my bodybuilding prep updates. I'm trolling the trolls as well. That's been a new thing that I've been doing, making fun of hate comments, and everything that you could think of, I'm posting on Instagram. So definitely check it out. It's going to be linked down below. And like I always say, Devin loves you. Devin's a Don, and Devin is out of here, boy.